Coming up, we take a look at the Metro Division. Yes, the New Jersey Devils have gotten better this offseason, but so too have a lot of their key opponents. Will there be a shakeup? Where do the Devils stand in the pecking order? And how vicious of a battle is this going to be in the upcoming season? Devils Puck Luck Podcast, where we are your hosts over here. Adam Armbrecht covering the Brooklyn Nets on the Locked On Nets podcast, and your football Giants on the One Giant podcast. Joined as always by Danny McDonough, the pulse of the Devils fan base, the 20-plus year season ticket holder. How are we, sir, as we prepare
great
for a conversation about the Metro Division? It's easy, and we have some good things coming up here inside of the network, doing some crossovers with Rangers guys, with Penguins guys. So, listen, by the way, we haven't done this since we've been on the network. We've talked about this before. We want wins. We love rivalries, but we're not the trash-talking Devil guys. It's not going to be the case. It's really fun to collaborate with people, especially when it comes to podcasting and covering sports. So we're looking forward to having good conversations.
So in that case, then we're even going to bring in Flyers guys then, maybe. The Philadelphia Flyers guys.
We gotta find the right group there. They can be. Listen, as Red Bulls fans in soccer, the Philadelphia Union. I've been to games there. That could be a cold crab, but we're cordial, man. We're not here to pick at the bones of any carcasses.
Who is your least favorite NHL team? Is it Flyers?
I honestly, again, when it comes to the games and when they're playing each other and the rivalry is there, then I hate that team in the sense of I want the wins. I don't despise. The only time I've ever really had it is when dirty plays, individual players like that. I think is more where I gravitate towards. And thankfully, by and large, the Devils have never really had guys with that kind of heavy connotation around being viewed as this is a dirty guy. You guys are hard to defend.
I mean, you had Claude Lemieux back in the day where everybody thought, he was a little, some questionable plays, but he was the kind of guy that under your skin, and no, we haven't over, Devils history haven't had many types of players like that. Curious to the fans out there if you can name some actually.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Who do you think? Do you think, is there a Devils player in the organizational history that you think maybe, hey, if you took a step back, removed your fandom, if he was on another team, would you say, ooh, don't care for him so much? Go ahead and get us in the comments on
borderline dirty plays.
I would prefer not to have too many responses to that. And then feel free to tell me inside of the Metro Division who are the dirty players.
What's funny? It's like looking back at it when the Devils were playing Sean Avery and when he was on the Rangers. It's like you look back at a lot of those plays and it's like, he was the worst. He was such a pain in the ass, right? But I love watching him on his podcast, man. He is super entertaining, and it's kind of funny when you just separate yourself when he's off the ice. How you can just enjoy his content. So
don't forget, by the way, too, man. It's like the eras of hockey that have happened here. Those type of players, that mold, it has dissipated a lot.
Sure.
Now the way in which you're dirty is maybe a little more sneaky. It's almost trying to buy the calls sometimes. I think
different type of NHL, right? Different type of NHL. Like you look at Scott Stevens' hits, back in the early 2000s, and some people would say he was a headhunter, right? Those were legal, clean hits. When he knocked out Solani, when he knocked out Lindros, you look at those and you're like, were they dirty hits?
If he walked in the league today, suspension. We'll think more on that, but get after us in the comments on those. Let's start here briefly. Let's just go at the bottom of the Metro first, because that's the least interesting or least exciting. We know that we're going to have Columbus, Philadelphia, and Washington in terms of last season and where they finished. These are 59, 75, and 80-point teams. Do you see anything dramatically different in those bottom three?
Yeah, I think the Flyers are going to be dead last in the Metro. I think they're going to have a really, really tough year this year.
That'd be a massive drop off. It's just in terms of because Columbus sitting there needs to make up 20 points to overtake them. But you think Philly, how far of a drop do you think they take here? So it's less about Columbus and it's more about Philly.
Yeah, Philly's going to have a really tough year. They're going to have probably 10 to 15 less points.
I agree with you in that regard. So, and then Capitals wise, it's funny. I think that they to me, actually, as we get into then going up the list, the Penguins, the Islanders, the Rangers, the Devils, and then you have obviously the Hurricanes up top there. Washington feels a little bit like the Penguins in terms of you have your veterans, you have these key guys, you're not going to let go of them, obviously.
Right.
And so you're hanging on. But the ceiling does seem defined for them.
Yeah.
Certainly more interesting when it comes to Pittsburgh and what they've done this offseason and what we think that maybe moves the needle on here when it comes to this Metro division. Let's dive into that.
Sure.
But before we do it, Dan,
yeah,
why don't you talk a little bit about DraftKings?
Ooh, DraftKings. All right. New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code
THPN.
Bet just $5 to score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code
THPN.
Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or gamblinglinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort. In West Virginia, gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1-800-GAMBLER.net. All games regulated by the West Virginia Lottery. Please play responsibly in partnership with Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-787-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction.
See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details on state-specific responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. 1 boost per eligible game. Opt-in required. Max bet of $50. 10+ leg required for 100% bonus boost. Eligibility, wagering, and deposit restrictions. Why?
We're talking a little bit about DraftKings now. So I'm going to have you look it up. What are the Devils' odds to win the Eastern Conference and the Stanley Cup? For me, I do it every year just because it's a fun thing I always like to do. My brothers and I actually do it. Maybe I get you in on it this year. Put a little bit of money. I go to Vegas a good amount. So put a little bit of money on the Devils to win the East and to win the Stanley Cup, even in those years that they were pretty bad. I still did it just because it's a tradition.
You went,
so I like to do it. But I'm going to take the Devils, obviously, again, to win the Eastern Conference and the Stanley Cup.
You're going for both.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the odds are, I'm going to say, plus 1,200 for the Devils to win the Stanley Cup.
So as I get there. So as I get it up in the
background,
let's just dive into that. We'll dive back into these numbers here in just a second. When you think about it, let's start with Pittsburgh, the Islanders, and the Rangers. I think that's the clear division point here. And then talk about the top of the class. It's the Canes, it's the Devils. Like that to me is the battle right now. It's not being dismissive of those other 3 teams, but I actually think that those other 3 teams are in a battle.
Yeah,
and you could see some rolling and changing.
Yeah, I'm gonna do. These are gonna be my bottom 3, and then obviously you let me know your bottom 3. I'm gonna go Flyers at the bottom, right above them, Columbus, who's gonna be very close to the Caps. The Caps are gonna have another disappointing year, but like you said, obviously with their veteran presence, Ovechkin's gonna score goals. It's just always gonna happen with Ovi. So those are my bottom 3, and then right there, who I think is going to have a down year, even though they have great defense and goaltending. The Islanders are going to be right above the Caps, and they're going to miss the playoffs this year.
That actually, missed the playoffs there. So that actually would be my first spot too. I agree with you at the bottom there. And then my switch was going to be with the offseason right now that the Penguins have had, and still having obviously some talented guys. We need not name them by name. I think that they hop up. And again, remember they finished 2 points behind the Islanders. It's not like it's a big leap, but I agree that the Penguins hop up and potentially are in line to make the playoffs, which I think is exactly what they're trying to accomplish at this state of the franchise with some of their veteran players. See what happens from there. Maybe they make a move in season. But then we talk about the Rangers. So when you talk about marginal improvement for the Pittsburgh Penguins, where do you stand on the Rangers, knowing that we beat them in the playoffs, but that they took some shots last year? It didn't pan out. Are they able to reboot and still be?
Well, let's rewind for 2 seconds.
Go ahead.
Here. So I have the Islanders being 5th in the Metro, right?
Yeah.
So outside looking in, I think they're going to miss the playoffs. This is going to surprise a lot of people here.
Talk to me.
I think the Rangers are going to make the playoffs, but I think they're going to be 4th. I think that they're going to be the wild card. I think that they're going to get into the playoffs. I think they lost a lot of key players this year. I think that Tarasenko not signing him was a mistake by the Rangers. I think they needed him to really solidify, the consistency of their team. Listen, Rangers still have Shesterkin. They still have one of the best goaltenders in the league. They have strong defensive guys. Obviously, Adam Fox, who's going to have a good year. He's one of the best defenders in the league, top 10 in the league. They have some younger players. Same with us. Especially the Lafreniere's not knowing what's going on with his contract. The Kakos, how they're going to produce, obviously. So I think the Rangers are going to be around that 98-point mark, 99-point mark, and I think, believe it or not, I think the Penguins are going to be 3rd in the Metro, and they're going.
So you get them all the way from not making the playoffs to being just behind the Devils and the Canes.
I think that the Penguins are at the point where with the veterans, obviously with Malkin, with Crosby, with Letang and now with Carlson, they're a veteran team that had a down year, in my opinion, last year. And I really think that this is one of their big pushes as those veteran guys to get into the playoffs again. And obviously, a lot of it depends on goaltending, but I don't think we can keep those guys out of the playoffs consistently. And I think that they're going to take a big step forward. And the Rangers and Penguins, to me, are going to be battling it out around that spot for the third position in the Metro.
And it's why I asked you, because if you think, say, the Rangers come back from 107, okay, maybe they're 102, 100, 102. If you think Penguins are coming up a little bit, it all starts to shake out that way. On top of which, if we think that the Flyers could take a significant step back, here's what becomes fascinating. I remember looking this up. The Penguins only had 2 wins against the Canes, the Devils, the Islanders, and the Rangers.
Sure.
So those battles alone, and we know this, but those battles alone inside the Metro, they dictate so much. And that, and from the standpoint of just, hey, if you are the Penguins and you win the season series with the Rangers 3-1, boom.
Right.
Now all of a sudden you're neck and neck.
Not only that, it's with more veteran team, you're gonna have more injuries too. Look at Letang and everything like that. So, it's like I said, I think that the Rangers are gonna have 98, 99 points. I think the Penguins are gonna have 100. I think that's gonna be a very good battle. And let's please remember this. The Penguins lost some horrific games to miss the playoffs, to put Florida in the playoffs, who eventually went to the Stanley Cup final. They're not going to lose those games, against the Chicagos and get embarrassed. I think that this massive wake-up call for those veteran guys on the Penguins, that they're going to really play a lot better this year.
Let's talk numbers here before we get to the top and the Devils and obviously the Canes, but let's inform it. Kings, you get over there, and here's what you know about the Metro Division. So we will just mention where it stands between the Canes and the Devils. Canes are plus 180, 220 for the Devils. So they're fairly close, but Canes still favored. Now, to your point, if you believe in the Penguins, plus 650 to win the division.
I don't.
But it does become interesting comparing them to a plus 380 for the Rangers.
Sure,
so if you were putting money on one of those two, maybe go with the Penguins because you're getting value long shots.
Listen, and the numbers are right. The top 3 in the Metro on the books are going to be the Devils, Canes, and Rangers. But it's
this, by the way, plus 1,500 for the Islanders. So just think about this past season, the performances, and where you think these teams are. And I got to be honest with you, from a pure hockey standpoint, I'm sad for the Islanders because the window opened-ish, never quite fully, a couple of missteps, and now it feels like because of the Devils and the Canes and what's going on.
It's similar to what Lou Lamoriello did with the Devils in the sense of building the wrong teams, and then he goes there and he's getting the veteran guys. Like you said, their window closed very quickly, and with Sorokin, a great goaltender. It's a shame, and he's going to win games for the Islanders. Sure. It's goaltending is going to win those games, but for me, I'm looking at the bottom 4 with the Islanders. It's about the Caps and Columbus. I think Flyers are just going to be atrocious. But I think the other 3, I think they're going to compete for those bottom 4 spots, and it's going to be tight.
DraftKings also has when you go to conference then, and this is where you open it up just beyond the Metro for those purposes. As you would expect, you've got the Canes plus 450, the Devils are plus 550. You pull outside of it and you throw in the Maple Leafs even footing with the Devils right now, and you also then get the Rangers at 750, and then the Panthers and Bruins both at 850. So even in the hierarchy,
which is crazy for the Bruins, they lost a lot of key guys, and their team looks very different.
Think about, and this, I'm not throwing shade, but think about where the season started for the Devils and the Bruins, and then where it finished, and now where the perception is going to next year. It could not have been any more than like ships in the night passing each other. And for the Bruins, just shockingly though, having things go the wrong way for them and create this perception that
it's crazy. And I'm sure during preseason and everything, maybe we'll do our predictions for the overall NHL.
We got a lot of that. League-wide stuff we'll do.
But I think the Atlantic Division is going to look crazy different. I think with some of the acquisitions of Ottawa, I think the Buffalo Sabres are a high-scoring team too. You're going to see a lot of different things going on in the Atlantic.
How about this for the overall championship odds? You mentioned this before. Canes are number 1, plus 800. The Maple Leafs, plus 900. Your New Jersey Devils, plus 900. You said 1,200 before, so they're tightening up. You probably want to put your money in after the All-Star break this past year. Would have been the time to put some money down on the Devils going into this upcoming season. I would say, because you do watch this stuff, these numbers are moving, especially for the Devils, based on what they did this offseason.
100%. Getting to Foley, I think if you looked at the numbers before Toffoli's acquisition, it was probably like plus 1,200 around there, but I haven't looked at it in a while. To be completely honest with you. So
1,200 plus 1,200 for defending champions.
Yeah, so
Vegas
there you
Golden
go.
Knights.
Yeah, I mean, Vegas is still going to be a great team. There's tiers, obviously, of teams. I think the
Do you know the other team that's above them?
It's probably the Oilers. I'm assuming.
It is +1.
Yeah, it's
just behind the Devils.
Similar, yeah.
So,
I would actually like
Avalanche also +1,000.
That I see too. Avalanche they had a lot of injuries, had a lot of situations last year that they were just snake bitten with injuries. So listen, it's going to be a lot of fun this year. It's going back to the top of the Metro. I think that it's going to be exactly like it was last year. I think Canes and Devils are going to be battling out until the last week of the season. I think the Devils are going to get the #1 seed. I think they're going to have 110, 111 points. I think the Canes are going to be right behind them, 1 or 2 points. I think it's going to be to the wire. I think it's going to be absolutely incredible to watch. The Canes are a phenomenal team. On paper, they are very close to what the Devils are, if not exactly right there. So they're definitely one of the best teams in the league. And I think that it's going to be a lot of fun watching who's going to win the Metro.
Good reminder when we talk about this stuff in terms of goal differential, right? Mm-hmm. The Devils actually had the best goal differential by the end of the season, +65. The Canes were +53. The Rangers were +58. It's just, they had the big margins happened in games when it didn't matter as much. And just quickly, then when you get to other teams, +21 for the Islanders, and we think maybe they're going to regress. Penguins were -2, but there's reasonable expectation with a veteran team to say, like, I can talk about health and like 1 or 2 puck bounces here. Being in plus by a slim margin makes a big difference. Notable that the Devils had 291 goals for. They led the division. Yeah. The Rangers were second there. And then in terms of goals against, now the Devils were 4th in the division. So they did yield some goals, and they're probably going to have same turns again this season, depending on goaltending.
Yes, I agree 100%. I think it's going to be very similar to last year. I really do. And I think that a lot of it, again, is going to depend on the consistency goaltending for both teams, for all top 3 teams in the league. So in the Metro, excuse me. So, I'm going Devils, Canes, Penguins, Rangers. Who's your top 4?
You're going Devils, Canes, Rangers. No. Penguins, Rangers.
Yes.
Penguins, Rangers. I'm going to go. I'm going to keep it.
Take your time. We'll be here.
No, we got all the time in the world. I'm gonna go Devil. I will go Devils right now. Canes. I'm gonna keep the Rangers 3rd.
Okay.
I think that the Penguins make it, but I think that the Penguins are going to be a team that's most concerned about making the playoffs, being healthy and consistent. So I think Penguins are going to dance in the margins of let's make sure we're in the right positioning and get healthy and go to the playoffs.
Right.
And then maybe be like a lower seed that unfortunately are really hard out for somebody. So I'll put them there.
Okay.
And I think I can see Islanders are going to be on the outside looking in, unfortunately. Which is a bummer. Listen, end of the day, as Danny mentioned, we're going to get into the rest of the NHL. We're going to get into the rest of the East. What are the shakeups that we anticipate looking over at the Atlantic and those Bruins? Yeah. Listen, if they're not going to win 65 games this upcoming season, who gets those wins?
Yeah, that's 100%.
And how could it dial up a little bit? What you're going to want to do if you're out there and you're looking at it and you're loving it and you're wanting more of it. You get over to YouTube where you find the Devil's Puck Luck podcast. You subscribe, you share it. We really appreciate the support that we're getting since we've joined the Hockey Podcast Network. You get us over on Twitter at NJDevilsPL, at Danny the Face, at Adam Armbrecht, and on TikTok and Instagram at
Devil's Puck Luck.
Until next time, where we're going to break down some more point projections and some of these key situational matchups around the East and the NHL at large. I guess the only thing we can say is,
well, he takes his time. I'm really excited to have these crossover episodes. I just want to, I'm really excited. Having some of these guests on is going to be awesome. It's going to be great just to kind of round out what everybody else thinks in the Metro, especially. I'm curious to, like, if you have a Rangers fan, a Penguins fan, an Islanders fan, where their head is and where their heart is, as fans of the team and covering their team, what they think. So.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I was giving you time to come up with your punchline.
I didn't get there. Let's not get Schmitty. Let's keep it classy, boys.